Hello, welcome to The Wandering Mind. My name is Vinny, and I am the Wanderer. Today, I'm talking about how internet videos might be killing your game, and not just your game, but your individuality and personality too. You might have had the experience of endlessly scrolling through YouTube Shorts, Instagram, or TikTok, suddenly hearing people tell you how you should be handling every aspect of your life. You need a dopamine detox. You should hustle. You need to work smarter, not harder. You have to become an entrepreneur. You have to learn multiple languages. And it goes on and on and on. Sure, this might be the best time in history for some of those things, but I simply just don't buy it. These people don't know me. They have no real investment in the outcome of my life. And honestly, although I don't think most of these influencers have malicious intentions, they're often well meaning, wanting to help people move forward. But here's the thing, people are different. Since I know this about myself, I recognize that this is true for others too. When I share ideas, I try to leave room for individual personality and deeper, often subconscious traits that make each of us unique. Telling everyone to wake up an hour earlier, work harder, or just hustle a bit more ignores personal potential and overlooks the fact that we all have different definitions of success. One person's understanding of being rich might simply mean covering bills without any struggle, while for another, it's a life of opulence. So, what's rich to you? So, depending on where you live, it might be easier or harder to fall on any of those interpretations of being rich. For example, if you think about Scandinavian countries, places that are famous for equality and good living, if you understand being rich as paying your bills without any struggle, you might think that in Sweden everyone is rich. You work, pay your bills on time, get enough food, utilities, transportation, clothing, and overall support, save some money, and still have some spare money for traveling and fun. That's one perception of being rich. Sometimes, because where you were born or lived, the majority of people were struggling so much to have the modern basic necessities that only the rich ones could afford that. Is that wrong? I don't think so. For others, being rich is much more. Paying your bills and saving some money for enjoying traveling is the normalcy. Being rich extrapolates that, is living in a mansion in a fancy neighborhood filled with exotic cars, expensive stuff, and exude an opulent life. Going to expensive places, fine dining, luxury clothing, and other things more, almost like a celebrity lifestyle. All right? Is this one way of being rich? Sure, but this also means living in a cheaper country with a weaker currency and being paid in your native country standards will probably meet those requirements with much ease compared to your local situation. In other words, and exemplifying, it's the same as saying you can live an opulent life in India living with the average American wage, which is rich, but you can't live a rich life in Sweden living with above average Indian wage. So in that scenario, being rich depends solely on where you are. Another one is to say being rich is accumulating money or net worth, and then people rich are only measured by a standard currency and how much of that their portfolio is worth. But some of those people are investors, and some of that is not usable in the present. So it is an extrapolation of the usable money. You can solve that by saying it is about cash flow or liquidity, and we can keep it going, so on and so forth, up to a point where we won't come to any logical conclusion. Any interpretation of what rich is will leave something behind, will vary among all people, will depend on the culture, ambient, and more. So, just with the spectrum of what is rich, we can say we understand things differently. We perceive the others differently too, because we navigate the world with our own labels, and what is rich surely is a defined label. The same is applied to broader advice. Most of what some influencers share comes from their personal experience, and while it may be true for them, it's not universally applicable. People have unique traits, personalities, and aspirations, and that's why you'll find people with every possible personality type across the economic spectrum. like someone very narcissistic, very introverted, very eloquent, very rude, some uneducated, and some highly intelligent. They vary. I'm not accusing anyone of lying. Often, what they share is true, but their truth, and that truth is narrow. It works only for people who can comprehend the advice to the same extent they do. It's not that the listeners is now wrong for not understanding what the speaker has to say, but because words carry different meanings for them, or even the amplitude of their vocabulary, or the eloquence and capacity of articulation. You could say something that seems clear and straightforward, but the listener might interpret it completely different based on their own background. Even what I say here fall on that too, and I know it. Another example is something I see on the internet a lot. Be disciplined. The dictionary might have a very objective definition, which is not important to us right now. But in the end, people understand or perceives emotionally or even feels the word discipline differently. So if you talk to someone who struggles to sit down and focus, and at the same time they have a huge ego full of themselves, they might be horrible at producing barely anything. But if they sit down and work for like 30 minutes, they'll feel like they're awesome because they're producing, they're focusing, they had the ability of focusing. So it won't be difficult to imagine someone like this glowing up after that moment and thinking, yeah, discipline is everything, or you need to be disciplined, and yeah, I'm on fire, or something like that. But on the other hand, if you imagine someone that is highly dependable on being productive, they need that sense of production, sometimes workaholic vibes, and they work like 10 hours straight, like crazy, on a hustle, and you say, discipline is everything, while they stopped and relaxed for an hour, they will feel like, oh, I'm wasting 1 hour. What am I doing? I need to be disciplined. I could work 11 hours instead of 10. I could do one more. And that's not what discipline is about. And in the end, that person who delivered 10 hours would feel like, I'm a terrible worker. I can't be disciplined. I don't know what is wrong with me. I try my best, but I can't. Even though this person overworked the other one for like 20 times on the amount of dedicated effort. Of course, this is just a provoking example. What I'm trying to say is that someone that might not feel that they're wasting 9.5 hours of the day might be glowing after that advice. And someone that is highly producing for 10 hours straight might be feeling like they're not. So the same set of words can glow the unproductive and can melt down the productive. Someone who's very undisciplined can think they are applying that correctly, while someone who even extrapolates the healthy focus and discipline can feel that as a pressure and a direct complaint about their behavior. Here's another example. Say someone who is a CEO or a successful salesman, common occupations for very extroverted people, then he's asked about what is the secret to success. And his answer is something like, oh, you have to be patient. Surely patience is the secret to success. All right, this is true. But what he lacks to mention is how aggressive and expensive he is, how his haste and temper moved away some of his clients, and then, after he learned how to control his also energy, he was able to work with much more efficiency. The advice of being patient might work, but if you give this advice to someone who's already very patient and calm, and you say, the secret to success is being patient, what the hell is he supposed to do with this? He's the living embodiment of this sentence, yet he feels and knows that he's not successful at all. Or it might come to his mind that he's not even patient enough. This won't solve any of his problems. This truth of applying patience to your professional behavior only worked because it attenuated some traits that wasn't even helping him at all. In fact, this calm person might actually need to explore assertiveness to achieve the same concept of success, and for that, completely different tactics must be applied. It's like recommending glasses to everyone just because they improved your vision. Sure, glasses are helpful for some, but not everyone has the same needs or issues. A person who's visually impaired benefits from glasses, but someone who's hard of hearing won't. Yet, advice online often doesn't account for this range of differences. People share what worked for them as though they are the solution to everybody. Alright, Enough with those examples of one-fits-all solutions because ultimately, these internet gurus often place generalized advice on top of people's unique lives. This is why I like to think about people's completely personality or psyche or individuality, depending on how you understand it. I like to think about it as though it was a singular and magic universe. A very cohesive universe where everything fits perfectly. There's no inconsistency to it. So, if you were to think of you that way, let's say like a Harry Potter universe, all the things in existence of this world are cohesive. The magic environment, the clothing, the lighting, the spells, the danger, the social hierarchy, and more. At the same time, there is the known story, the things we know because they were exposed while reading the story or even watching the movie. What we can say is the part of us we know about ourselves. But also, there is the unknown story, the parts kept hidden because we assume they are there for a reason, like who were his grandparents? What about the previous headmaster of Hogwarts? They are unimportant to Harry's story, but they are part of the universe nonetheless. That's the part of us we are unaware, the parts we don't know they exist, but they are there to make us whole and complete. They are part of the universe, and to change that, you need to change some fundamental parts of it. This is why simply adding up another thing that don't belong to your universe comes with the consequence of losing your identity. Imagine trying to add a lightsaber into Harry Potter's movie. It just doesn't fit the story because the world of Harry Potter is based on a completely different logic and set of rules than Star Wars. Likewise, when you try to impose someone else's rules or logic on your own life, it often just doesn't work. What you need is to adapt that. If it can be absorbed by your philosophical system, it must be logical to your subconscious mind. It doesn't matter if you assume something looks logical or even if there is some conscious logic to it. Everything must be valid in order to be real. Otherwise, it will be thrown out. It doesn't matter how much you try to force it. Building a simple logical argument is not enough to change your entire personality. It must be adapted to your whole story and self-narrative. Using that same scenario, it is almost like trying to create something that possesses the same properties or intentions of the lightsaber, but with the aesthetics, commands, or materials of the Harry Potter universe. It probably doesn't look like a lightsaber, or even people would argue if they are really the same thing. It doesn't matter. What does matter is if it can be incorporated into your universe without losing its personality and cohesiveness. That's why, to appropriating traits, understandings, habits, philosophies of others into your own world, you have to be the creator of the new chapter of yourself prior to release. The other will only watch your creation. You need to be okay with the fact that you will need a lot of effort and a lot of different iterations before it can even be considered part of your universe now. So, the advice I offer you today is the next step of the previous episode. If you didn't watch, please do so. It is a unique way of strengthening yourself with inner acceptance, right? So, the advice I offer you is to accept you as a unique universe. Everything you like in your life are cool stories inside of your own theme. Everything is themed out of you. The same way you can look at some different stories like Harry Potter, Star Wars, Narnia, Tolkien universe, or whatever comes to your mind. I try to find some very out-of-earth examples, but it can be anything. And perceive all of them are very distinctive on their own. Sometimes they have similar characters, but they belong to different universes. So there is your own universe, themed out of you. Now question how you're going to adapt those new stories, the new chapter, the becoming someone new, the new trait, the new version of yourself to that same story. How can you relive inside of yourself fortified and still the same personality? Look at the things and traits you enjoy and how you're going to incorporate that. Some of those internet advice can help you a lot. But you don't have to test out every bit of advice you come across. Maybe adapt one or two new ideas if they resonate with you, but more than that, it's not feasible. You're likely just desperate trying to change everything at once because of fear of falling behind. The truth is, the rat race we see online isn't real. People portray themselves as eternally happy, always winning, effortlessly making money, and living with the perfect partners all at the same time, while being nice people, smart, productive, and psychologically stable. But we know this isn't true. If we feel safe and secure, and most of all true to ourselves, we wouldn't feel the need to follow all these influencers' prescriptions. In conclusion, since the universe is ever expanding and we are unique universes on ourselves, we must follow the same principle and be ever expanding. Those who are unable to grow and learn and move forward, whatever it is, will become stagnant. And to the point of view of an ever expanding thing, being stagnant is definitely shrinking. This is why taking a lot of different principles out of your own universe, trying to force them into your own indiscriminately might make your universe appear smaller. Believe in yourself, believe in your own universe. Choose wisely the things you want to become and embody that with your own glare, your own touch. After exploring this approach to life, I'd love to hear the insights you took from today's journey. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and if something here resonated with you, a simple gesture of support helps this channel continue to grow naturally. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, and as always, keep wondering.